Hello everyone, welcome to Nilanjana's exclusive English lessons. Today I'm back with the very important questions from Act 5. I hope all of you are with me. And yes, if you prepare these questions, I can guarantee that your Act 5 preparation is sorted. Because most of you have Act 5 in your upcoming prelims, right? And yes, often it's a little overlooked, mostly people concentrate on Act 3. Yes, Act 3 is definitely important, but here are the most important questions of Act 5. And probably I have to do this video in two parts because in the one video I was not able to cover all the questions. But yes, if you all are interactive, if you all want to know more, if you all are really keen to learn more, please share your comments so that I understand that you all are really participating in this learning. Okay, let's begin the first question. Octavius, now Antony, our hopes are answered. You said the enemy would not come down but keep the hills and the upper regions. The first speech of Octavius in Act 5, Scene 1. So, where does this scene take place? Now, this is a scene that takes place in the plains of Philippi. In fact, the entire Act 5 takes place here. Who enters the scene? Octavius, Antony with their army enter the scene. How were their hopes answered? Now, why does Octavius say this? Octavius had said this because when he saw the enemy had already approached and they were not there on the higher regions as stated by Antony earlier, this is when Octavius is questioning Antony that you said something else, but see, the reality is a completely different scenario. Octavius tells Antony that their hopes were fulfilled as Antony had said that the enemy would not come down to the plains, but instead would remain in the hills and higher regions. He says it has proved otherwise and their armies were approaching fast. They intended to challenge them there at Philippi, answering before we do demand of them. How does Antony react to the servant's message and what does Octavius say in reply? Now, there's a servant who comes and gives a message after this dialogue. So, what does he say? The servant actually tells that the enemy is near. So, now how does Antony react? Antony tells Octavius to lead his army slowly onto the left hand side of the level ground. Octavius replies that he will advance on the right and he asks Mark Antony to keep to the left. There is a minor disagreement between Octavius and Antony because Octavius was not ready to listen whatever Antony was trying to impose on him. He, of course, was showing his own leadership skills and abilities, and he shows over here that he's a true descendant of Caesar. So, what does Octavius say? No, that I am going to keep the right hand side, okay, because it's not always correct that you are going to always take the most advantageous side of the battlefield, because in the Roman battles the superior general always fought on the right side. It was a position of greater honor and responsibility in the Roman army. So Octavius doesn't want to feel left out. He doesn't want to feel that Antony is trying to impose his orders on Octavius. Therefore, he doesn't agree to what Antony instructs him. What happens before they actually start fighting? Now, before the enemies, Brutus, Cassius on one side and Octavius, Antony on the other side, what exactly happens before they actually start fighting? So here, before they actually start fighting, they meet on the plains of Philippi. The two armies, they meet on the plains of Philippi, and before the battle, the leaders exchange harsh words. Octavius challenges Brutus while Antony mocks the conspirators for killing Caesar. So, this is what happens before the actual fighting starts. What military strategy does Brutus advocate before the fight starts? What was Brutus's reason for following this strategy? Now, Brutus advocated parley. Parley is a discussion. And he said words before blows. He didn't want to get into the fighting immediately, impulsively. He wanted to discuss. This suggests that Brutus believes that resolving conflicts through dialogue is preferable to violence, reflecting his belief in the power of reason over force. So, this is what Brutus suggested, that yes, let's have a word, let's have a discussion, and then only we can get to the real fight. How does Brutus begin the parley? So he begins the parley by asking words before blows. Is it so, countrymen? He also addresses them as countrymen, which is again a reminder that this is a civil war which is going on. What does Antony say about Brutus's bad strokes? Antony tells Brutus that in his bad strokes he speaks good words. He reminds him of the wound he made in Caesar's heart while flattering him with sweet words like, "Long live, hail Caesar." The posture of your blows are yet unknown, but for your words they rob the Hybla bees and leave them honeyless. This is a very important speech in scene one. Probably you should take care and put a star against this speech in your textbook so that when you revise, you know that this is important. Explain the lines. Cassius here mocks Antony by saying that no one yet knows whom his blows will favor, since he has declared loyalty to both the parties. If you remember, Antony had declared loyalty to Brutus in scene 1, Act 3, scene 1, and we already know that he has, of course, forever, he was a loyal follower of Caesar. So Brutus is questioning that, sorry, Cassius is questioning that you had declared your loyalty to both the parties. So we are yet to know that, your blows are for whom. His words, however, are so charming and sweet that it seems he must have raided the beehives of Hybla, stealing away all their honey and leaving the bees empty. So please take care of this part where he talks about the Hybla bees. Okay, and also I wanted to say that some of you are commenting that my voice is coming across the videos as an AI voice. Well, for that, you need to go and change the settings. Sometimes the voice is coming across in an AI voice because the videos are auto dubbed, keeping in mind the needs of various users, my videos may come to you in a different language in an AI voice. But then it's very easy. You just need to go to settings on the screen on your YouTube, and from there you have to change it to choose original audio, because I am recording the video in my original voice. Maybe sometimes it may come to you as an AI voice. So I hope I have made that clear. And yes, if you know that, you know what I would be asking from all of you, it really motivates and inspires me if you share and like the video, leave a small comment. And those who are interested to get these notes, you can write a nice, beautiful comment in your good vocabulary. And let me see if you can really, if it melts my heart, as I said, that I will send you the notes. But yes, those who are really interested, please let me know. Okay. How does Antony express his anger? Now, Antony was very angry. When this discussion, the parley was going on, he was very annoyed. And what does he say? He furiously calls them villains, reminds them of their hypocrisy. He says that their cruel daggers did not tremble even as they struck their beloved Caesar, each blow cutting through friendship and loyalty. He recalls how they once grinned at Caesar like apes, flattered him like hounds, like dogs, and bowed like slaves to kiss his feet, until Casca, as treacherous as a cur, stabbed Caesar from behind. So Antony ends by calling them flatterers. What does the scene reveal? Scene 1, Act 5, Scene 1. So, what does it reveal? This scene sets the stage for the final confrontation. We, the audience, can understand that the final confrontation is very near and shows the emotional weight of the leaders, especially Cassius, who feels both fear and uncertain. Towards the end of the scene, you will see Cassius is becoming a little different. He is no longer that Cassius that we have seen him in the earlier acts. It also highlights the tension, personal stakes as the battle for power and honor unfolds. Coming from Sardis, our former ensign, two mighty eagles fell, and there they perched, gorging and feeding from our soldiers' hands, who to Philippi here consorted us. Do you remember this speech? It was the speech given by Cassius on his birthday, and he sounded little uncertain and emotional. So, what exactly happened over here? What does he tell to Messala? He's telling this to Messala. So, what does he say? Cassius recalls an incident from his journey from Sardis. He describes how he saw two strong eagles swoop down and settle on their army's banner. These majestic birds fed from the hands of the soldiers who had accompanied them to Philippi, almost as if symbolizing strength and good fortune. But the following morning, Cassius noticed that the eagles had vanished. In their place, dark and ominous birds, ravens, crows, and kites hovered above their heads, glaring down as though the soldiers were doomed prey. Cassius likens these foreboding birds to a deadly canopy spread over their army, suggesting that their end might be near. This is the speech where Cassius sounds superstitious, emotional, uncertain, and scared. Why? Because he thinks that the end is probably near. Which philosophy Cassius mentioned here? Cassius followed the Epicurean school of philosophy. Epicurus was a Greek philosopher. This philosophy generally disregarded omens and the supernatural. Epicurus preached one must not be influenced by superstitions. So Cassius always followed the Epicurean philosophy and he never believed in supernatural things, omens. But then suddenly there's a shift in his mind, in his thoughts, in his philosophy. So this is what has been discussed here. What can we judge about Cassius and Brutus from this conversation in this scene? Towards the end of the scene, there's a conversation between Brutus and Cassius where they discuss that if they win, they're going to meet like this again in a happy mood. But what if they don't win? What is going to happen? Right? So, towards the end of the scene, we can see that Brutus, though he has gone through a major personal tragedy, he still remains hopeful. But Cassius is more doubtful. They say their final goodbyes, knowing this could be their last meeting. The scene ends with the armies moving into the position for the battle. Cassius displays a blend of superstition and practicality, contrasting with his earlier rational and manipulative nature. Brutus said that even by the rule of that philosophy, which is Stoicism, by which he blamed Cato for the death which he did give himself, and though he thought that the suicide was cowardly and vile, he would not allow himself to be paraded as a prisoner in the streets of Rome. Thus, he would kill himself. Now, what does Brutus say over here? Brutus said that he blamed Cato. Why? Because Cato had killed himself. So, according to a Stoic, who is a Stoic? A Stoic is a person who is indifferent to pleasure or pain. So, Cato couldn't bear his pain and therefore he had committed suicide, and Brutus considered it a cowardly and vile act. He never advocates suicide. For him, it's a very cowardly act. But if he's taken as a prisoner, that would be more cowardly and disgraceful to him. Once they lose the battle, usually the fallen army, they are taken as a prisoner of war and they are paraded through the streets of that country. Will Brutus be really able to withstand that? No. So for him, though he doesn't advocate suicide, but in this scenario, it's better that he would kill himself. Ride, Messala, and give these bills unto the legends on the other side. This is from scene 2. Act 5, scene 2. And I think this is the shortest scene, right? You can call it like the minute scene of Julius Caesar, very small. But yes, though it's small, but there is something that we can understand and it contributes to the course of the action. What instruction is given by Brutus to Messala and why? Brutus notices a weakness in Octavius's army and he sees as an opportunity to attack. He sends a message to Cassius urging him to advance quickly and strike the enemy while they are vulnerable. So Brutus wants to attack and he thinks that this is the right time because Octavius's army looks timid and it is as if they are lacking the spirit. Therefore, he's giving the instructions to Messala to go and give the direction to Cassius. Why does Cassius call his own men villains? Now, Cassius started calling his own men villains because why? Because they started running away for their lives. So, when Cassius saw that his own men were running away, then he understood that the end is more coming near. His soldiers are fleeing. So what does he say? He calls them villains. They are the men of Cassius's army, and they are running for their lives. Why? Because they are surrounded by Antony's troops. By the way, students, do you know that the full explanation of Julius Caesar is available on my channel? And yes, you can join the membership if you want to, because I only want serious learners to come to my community. Those who just want to shift from one channel to the other, and they're just trying and testing their methods. Yeah, I would suggest maybe for them the community may not be so advantageous, but yes, those who are really looking for learning, those who are really looking for original content, where you can get line by line explanation, where you can get symbolism, character analysis, theme, and many more. And trust me, people have given me that support. And for the last 2 years, since when I've opened this channel, I've got tremendous support from members of my community who are there with me for more than 1 year, more than 2 years. They could be students, they could also be teachers, but yes, that I know that they are really there. And as you can see, that they have been supporting this community for such a long time. Well, it's up to you. If you think that you really need detailed explanation, exams are very near. Of course, you can definitely go and check the membership level. Where Act 5, if you take the Act 5, you get access to all the videos of Act 3, Act 4, question answers, and many more. Okay, let's get back. What news does Pindarus bring Cassius? Pindarus tells Cassius to run further off as Mark Antony is in his tents. How does he react? Cassius goes further off to a hill. He asks Titinius whether the tents where he sees the fire burning is his, as he has weak eyesight. How does Cassius interpret the report given by Pindarus as seen from the hill? Why? Now, there is a terrible misunderstanding which takes place, and for that, Cassius's life comes to an unexpected end. Now, what is the misunderstanding? When Cassius had sent Titinius to go and check that the troops over there were his or his enemy, Titinius immediately goes and he follows the command. In the meantime, Cassius asked Pindarus to get on top of the hill and narrate what he could see. Because Cassius has weak eyesight, he couldn't see properly. Now, Pindarus misunderstands and he conveys to Cassius a completely wrong thing. And Cassius also doesn't even verify. He is rash and impulsive, and he immediately believes in whatever Pindarus said. So, what does he do over here? Cassius wrongly concludes that Titinius is captured by the enemy. Cassius is already in a depressed mood. We have seen this. When he talks about the eagles, the ravens, crows, and kites on his birthday, he's already melancholic. He has a premonition of defeat, death, and disaster. Cassius's soldiers were retreating, and he had to kill his standard bearer who was running away from the battle with the flag. So we can see that Cassius was actually, he was going through a lot of distorted emotions. He was misunderstanding things, and probably this is one of the reason he was misled by Pindarus's erroneous assessment. So Antony had surrounded his tents and set them on fire. Cassius is misled by Pindarus's erroneous assessment, which he accepts without verifying. He feels he is the cause of Titinius's capture. What does Cassius command Pindarus? What do his last words disclose? Cassius asked his servant, you can call his slave Pindarus, to kill him with the same sword that was used to kill Caesar. Pindarus does as instructed, and Cassius dies, thinking he has lost everything. He feels that there's no use to his life. Titinius is captured, his end is near. So why to wait? He could have actually waited. Of course, if you are given a personal response, I would definitely make another video on many personal response questions that can be expected in the boards. But yes, Cassius could have waited. I would definitely not advocate whatever he has done, but this is what was the reality. He asked Pindarus to stab him. Cassius says last words. Be very careful, very mindful about this. What does he say? Caesar, thou art revenged. So you have taken your revenge. This shows that Caesar's spirit is strong, though he is dead, and he will take the revenge one by one in this way. O hateful error, melancholy's child. This is again the dialogue where we can understand that due to a misunderstanding, how the lives of two capable generals, Titinius, Cassius, ended untimely. So, what explanation does Messala give for Cassius's death? When he sees Cassius lying down like that, he's dead, what does he say? Messala says that Cassius killed himself because he thought that he had lost the whole battle. Sadness, which misconstrues reality, gave birth to his errors in thinking and then destroyed him. So, when you are sad, it actually makes you misunderstand things. So therefore, we always say, keep your mind positive, be happy. Everything will pass. Sometimes, we are so bogged down with our life. We get very depressed. Maybe sometimes it happens with me also. I also feel depressed at times. I'm not feeling at happy at times, but then I just don't let it bog down my head. What I do is I immediately get on to my work. I try to keep myself busy, and I come out of it because we are all humans. Similarly, you all also must be going through it. Exams are, burdening you all of the time, tuition, studies, and then, of course, you must be really feeling bad. But then please come out of it. Because if you continue to be sad, you will make a lot of mistakes. You will misunderstand things. You will not see the real picture of life. And therefore, you will make errors. You will misjudge things. So, therefore, this is the reason what Messala said, that due to sadness, he had misunderstood and that destroyed him. Identify the literary device and explain the line. Oh, hateful error, melancholy's child. So, this is a personification. It is a literary device that gives a human attribute to error. Error is not a human, but then it's a human attribute is given, and it's a child of a depressed mind. It is hateful because it is responsible for the death of its creator, Cassius. What does Titinius compare Cassius to? Why, according to Titinius, had Cassius done what he had? Says, just as the setting sun's rays turn red when it sets, so Cassius has ended his life in a pool of red blood. The sun of Rome has set, and the night approaches with all its horrors, clouds, dews, and dangers. Now that Cassius is gone, Rome will have to face evil days. Titinius said that mistrust of his success by Cassius hath done this deed. Okay, so this is what Titinius had said about Cassius. What are Titinius's words to the dead Cassius before he kills himself? Titinius asks brave Cassius why he sent him forth on that mission, and those that he met were friends who put a wreath of victory on his brow with a request to give it to Cassius. He says sadly that Cassius had misunderstood the whole thing and tells him to wear the garland on his brow, the one his friend Brutus had asked to give to Cassius. He then places the wreath on Cassius. These lines are really emotional because Titinius feels extremely sad to see Cassius dead like that. And he tells him that you have misunderstood. See what I brought for you. I got this garland for you, this wreath which Brutus had given me, and I wanted to give it to you. But then he fulfills that wish and he places that garland on Cassius's head before he kills himself. How does Brutus pay tribute to Cassius and Titinius? Brutus mourns for Cassius and Titinius by saying that Rome will never again find two such honorable men. They represented all that was best in ancient Rome, and it is impossible that Rome will ever produce two such brave men. He says that no amount of tears can ever repay what he owes Cassius. Brutus does not waste any time as they are in the midst of a battle which needs his sole attention, and since he is a stoic, he controls the sadness till a suitable occasion. He tells that I have more tears. You people owe me more tears, but I cannot shed tears right now because there are more important things that needs my attention. He wants to concentrate on the upcoming battle. And of course, he's a stoic. He has taken the death of his wife so strongly. He doesn't break down even when Portia was dead, right? Though it really devastated him, but he knows how to control that feeling. What does the scene reveal about Brutus's character? Where does his error of judgment lead them to? Brutus is a good general, but he's an impractical man. His premature attack exposes Cassius to being surrounded by the enemy. This error of judgment leads to Antony defeating the army led by Cassius. His lack of wisdom gave the final blow to his noble cause. He thought that the victory over Octavius was assured and allowed his troops to plunder his camp instead of going to help Cassius, who commits suicide due to a misunderstanding. So what happened is when Brutus's soldiers, they started looting and plundering the enemy's camp. They could have done is they could have gone and helped Cassius, which they did not do. So therefore, Brutus was definitely impractical. He lacks the wisdom. He cannot make good decisions. We have seen many times. And over here also, he does the same thing, which finally leads to the outcome of the battle. So that was all about this video. And I know there are many questions to be explored. I'm trying to revise in chunks the portion, but for that, you all need to watch the video till the end. I hope all of you have watched. And those who have not yet watched Act 4 revision questions, right now, please go and watch this video. I'm leaving the link for you here. And if you need any help, do write to me. And thank you for watching and study well, stay happy, stay motivated, and don't get bogged down. Sometimes take a break. And that's all for today. Have a beautiful day ahead.